All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on Quick Access Popup version 9. My name is Joe Glines, and I work with Jean Lalonde, the developer of the tool, on other projects. We both know each other because the programming language Quick Access Popup is built in is called AutoHotkey. And so I present monthly webinars in AutoHotkey, and sometimes Jean will present for me. And so after talking about it, we thought, hey, what a great way to help educate people on some of the new features in QAP. And so I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm not a programmer. I don't pretend to be. I just am very passionate about this tool overall. So actually, let me take a step back and say, Jean and I, it's funny because Jean actually, he probably remembers, but I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, I had asked for some help on some other code he had, and he helped me then. And then about a year ago, he helped with something else, and he said, hey, are you using my other tool? And I'm like, what other tool? And he says, well, QAP, and he showed it to me. And then he gave me, actually, I think he gave me like a 10-minute demo. And then I was like, wow, I create a lot, not all of it, but a lot of the functionality that it has manually, and it's really painstaking to set it up. But because it's so helpful, right, it was worth it to me to create all those menus and submenus and be able to click things and add snippets or start a program and do whatever. And when I saw this tool, I just fell in love. I'm going, this is an amazing tool. And so I love getting more people to use it. And so so Jean and I have been collaborating more and more on this. And so Jean, why don't you go ahead and take over there?
Thank you, Joe, for helping me making this conference. Welcome, everybody. I'm very glad to have the opportunity to exchange with you live and talk to you about the new features in Quick Access Popup version 9. This seminar is really designed for current users of Quick Access Popup. We will have another webinar in June the 5th if you wish to attend or invite you people that would be interested in using Quick Access Popup. It will be June the 5th. But this one is for those who already use it. We'll see the changes when we'll take your question or suggestions in the second part of the webinar. At that time, we'll be able to open the mic if you wish to ask your question live, or you can use the chat at any time during the webinar if you want to ask question, and Joe will check the chat and forward me the questions as we go, or maybe keep them for the end. It will depend on the topic of the questions. So what we will discover today is how I made the Add Favorite feature easier to use with some improvement to the Add Favorite dialog box. We'll talk about hot strings, which is really a new efficiency booster. And I want to thank Joe for this because Joe is a great user of hot strings, and he's made me this suggestion maybe 9 months ago, and I worked on that, and it's now ready to be used. And combined with snippets, you will see that it's a very powerful tool. And we'll see how I improve the settings window to make it easier to use. And of course, we'll answer your questions. So the first part of the webinar is about adding favorites, and specifically about adding favorites of two types, the QAP features type and the special folders type. If you see on this slide on the left, you have how it was before QAP 9, when you wanted to add a QAP feature or a special folder. What I was showing is an alphabetical list of all the features or the special folders with no logic in it, just alphabetical. And since these lists are quite long, there are about 50 items in each of them. It was not necessarily easy to find what you wanted, and also just to discover what was good in this maybe for you. So what I did in the new version is to put these lists in 3 view, so by categories, so you can explore this by categories. For QAP features, I also put a description of each feature on the right side, so again, it helps you see what can be good for you. And for most of them, there's a link to the QAP website where you can look at the frequently asked questions, where there's a kind of knowledge base about all these features. So I'll demonstrate it to you right now. So my screen is a little bit different maybe than yours. My bottom row is on the right side. It's Joe again who gave me that interesting trick. So my QAP icon is here on the right. Maybe for you it will be on the lower right here. So I'm clicking this. What you have in the menu actually is the default menu. So when you install Quick Access Popup, is what is installed by default. So if I go in the settings, and maybe I'll just remove this to make it more clean. In the settings window, I click Add. Then I select QAP features. On the left side, you have the list in the tree view. On the right side, you have descriptions. And for, as I told you, for most of them, you have a link here. Some of them are missing. I just have to add the URLs in the next version, but fact page are ready for these. So the first category is featured. So it's things that are new, or I think that are underused and should be better known. So what is new is the close all windows feature. I'll just take a second to show it to you right now. It's something that has been added in version 9. So I'm adding it at the top of my menu here. And it will list all the windows currently open. So it means Windows also means all the applications currently open and running on your PC. And you can select or deselect those that you want to close. So and there are some of them that are kind of special applications. They are called universal applications. I'm working on understanding better how it works and how to control this. But some of these windows here are not real windows. But we'll give you an example of how you can close. So you select when you want to clean up your desktop, your Windows, you can use it and click close here, and it will close in a few seconds all these windows. So it's one example of the QAP features that has been added. The other one is the Closed Computer Control Center. Let's see this one too. Here you have a list of all the ways you can close your computer. You can power down, quite the same for most computers. It can be different on some. Restart computer, log off. So all these features are the same that you can see in the stop computer here. I don't know. I have to tell you that my Windows is a French version. So here and there you will see French, but you will recognize probably what you have in your English or your own local language. So you have here sleep, stop, or restart in English. You have the same option here that you could add to your menu. And also there's an option that you can add to it when you're using this tool. You can force the restart, but use it just if you really need to do it, because it will bypass anything that has not been saved in your open documents. So it's to use with care. There's also the sleep and hibernate. Sleep is quite the same. It's good on portable computers to save the battery. Hibernate will save a little more the battery. And for each of them, there are two options. One is sleep immediately, which again could cause data loss because it will close the application unsaved. Don't use it unless you really need. But the other one is really interesting. It's disable wake events. So there are events that will wake your computer. And if you don't want these events, for example, an alert that you would receive from a news site or things like that, if you just want the computer to wake when you move the mouse or when you press the keyboard, you disable wake events, and it will the computer will stay in the sleep mode longer. Finally, there are turn monitor off, put monitor in low power mode, and start screensaver, which is currently not working. And just the good thing of doing a webinar is that you review everything, and it was working when I implemented it, but now I find that on my PC at least it doesn't work, so I'll have to work on that one. But so you see here all those new ways to different ways to close your computer. So that's the Closed Computer Control Center. And so these are a few of the new features that I put in the featured section. Upstream will talk about this a little later. And the other categories here are dynamic menus. So I cannot explain each of them, but each of these items here are menus that are created and refreshed as you use Quick Access Popup. with the content of your clipboard. If your clipboard includes files or URLs, the list of drive with free space and these things, recent files, recent folders, reopen a folder that is currently open in another window, repeat last action, switch to any application as you would do with Alt-Tab. And for Total Commander users, there's a directory hotlist that we can use. So these are menus that are generated dynamically. We have features now about editing the QAP menu. So there's the add favorite. There's one that is already in your main menu. If you open the default menu here, you have add this folder or link. It's already there, but you could add it elsewhere if you want in your menu. What else? There's a link here to buttons here, items here to open some dialog box where you will see your hot string, your icon, or your shortcuts. The settings, which is the one that is already in your default menu. So all these are ways to edit your menu. And there's a list here that is in the second level, add favorite of type. And these are new QAP features, and they allow you to create a new favorite directly of one type. So you bypass the step where you have to select the type of favorite. And where it can be interesting is if you have, for example, I'll add a submenu called snippets. And in this submenu, I will add a QAP feature that is add favorite snippet here. And I'll save it. So now I have this submenu snippet that it is empty except the QAP feature add favorite snippet here. So let's first close this. Let's see, we are working on something else. And I need to add a snippet. So I can click here and it will automatically open the dialog box add favorite when I can type my snippet. And I'll do an example that we will reuse later. I'll call it code email and the message. Okay, so when user made donation for quick access pop-up, I'll send them a code that will remove some of the dialog box that appear sometimes. So I have to retype it every time I have someone making a donation. So instead of retyping each time I can create a snippet. Of course, there are other ways that you currently have, but this one has some interesting features. And we'll come back on this later when we will talk about hot string. So for now, what I do, I click here, add. It will automatically add the new snippet in the menu where I use, oops, I'll save it. So it automatically add the favorite in the menu I was when I choose this add favorite snippet. You notice that it has been added at the end. That's the default way. Now there are only 2 of those, but if there's a long list, the new ones would be at the end. If you prefer to have the new ones at the beginning, there's an option for this. There are many options for many things. So this one in the menu tab, you have here when adding automatically add a favorite at the top or the bottom. So if we choose at the top, and I'm saving, closing. So I'm using again this menu here. New snippet. And now it's at the beginning automatically. So the add button would be at the end, and the most recent favorite that you would have would be at the top. Of course, you can reorder it as you wish. You can add separators. You can do as you wish to maintain this menu. So that was a little example of how you can use the new add favorite of a type. And so 2 changes in this, the fact that it is already selected, the type, and the other thing is that the new favorite will be added in the submenu where the command was used. So that's this group here. we have another group that is Windows management. So there's this close all windows that we've seen here, reopen a folder, switch window. I take the opportunity here to tell you something about, on the right side here, you have a description and you have here this help on this feature. If you click on this, it will open the, the FAQ page for this. And I just want to take a second to talk to you about this FAQ. I just need to move this way. Okay. So here's how is built the switch menu and information about the switch menu. There are, I don't know how many, but more than 100 pages in the FAQ, and I just want to take the opportunity to invite you to use it if you don't. It's, I think it's quite complete knowledge base. It's developed on the logic of FAQ, so these are question and answers. Some questions coming from users and answering some issues that some users could have in some situation, but most of it is a way to learn how to install, how to show the menu, how to add favorites, how to customize the menu, how to launch favorite, and some question about what I call harnessing windows, so to control windows using quick access pop-up. And the last group is more advanced question and answers about quick access pop-up. So it's, most of it has been updated to version 9. I'm now in this section now, the last section, I have to update my screen captures and review if everything is still correct with version 9, but most of it now is okay with version 9. Okay, settings here. So we've seen this one, window management. There's also Windows features, so features in quick access pop-up that controls Windows in one way or the other. So for example, to display the list of drive. Of course, some of these features are already by default inserted in the My QAP Essentials submenu. If you didn't change it, you already have some of these. For example, the drive feature is here. But there are some other that you could wish to add. There's a close computer command. These are new in version 9. I already show you the close computer control center. But if you wish, you could add in your menu. You've seen in this, you've seen here all the ways that you can close more or less your computer. All these specific commands are available separately if you want to add them. So you can have a sleep computer command in your menu if you wish. These are Windows features. Various utilities, so things that I did not know where to put. So get info, it's helpful when you want to exclude a window in the exclusion list. Repeat last actions. And finally, QAP management is different commands or dialog box that are really related to quick access pop-up. So for example, exit quick access pop-up or check for update. I like the option here. You know that you can access the option by clicking here in this dialog box, but you have 2 clicks to get there. Since I'm using often the options window, I'm adding it just below the settings window. So here, quick access pop-up, QAP management, options, and I have my options dialog box available directly now under settings here. And just to finish with this list, is there anything else I wanted to talk to? Yeah, there's the refresh live folders and shared menu. It's not new in version 9, but I take this opportunity. So what it does, it refresh the live folders. So live folders, for those who don't use them, they are reflecting the current content of a folder. But the content is read when you start quick access pop-up, and it is not refreshed live or dynamically. It would be too heavy on the processing. So, but there's a command that you can put on your menu, and it will refresh on demand the content of your live folders, and also the content of your shared menus. Shared menus are read on differently depending on how you use it. But if you're using with colleagues, you have a menu that is somewhere on a shared drive, on the Dropbox folder, for example. And if the menu change since you started using Quick Access Popup, these changes are not reflected live. But if you refresh, it will go to the menu and update your shared menu with the current content. What is new in version 9 is that you can now have this command being run automatically every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, every hour. It could be every 30 seconds, but I do not recommend this because every time it runs, there's a short period where the menu is not available. So, not sure it's really necessary to have this run very, very often, but if you want to activate it, you go in the options, under the menu options, and here you have enable quick access menu refresh. And by default, it will be 300 seconds, so 5 minutes. You could go down to 30 seconds if you wish, not lower, because lower than that, I think it would be too frequent. And you can go up and make it only once an hour if you wish, but now it's every 5 minutes. And to help you to see how much time it takes for the menu to be refreshed, you can click here, beep, before and after refreshing the menu. So you will see if you have a very large menu, it could be maybe 5 seconds, the time it takes to refresh the menu list. If it's shorter, generally it is less than 1 second. But so if it is very short, it can be okay to make it more frequent. It takes a long time. Maybe you will refresh less often. I tried in the last year to have background update. So something that would be done in the background without impacting the availability of the menu, but I had serious issue with that. It just wasn't working. So I have this option, which is a kind of mid solution that is making your menu refreshed periodically. Okay, I think that's it for the QAP features. I don't know how much time we still have for this part, Joe, but I will now show you the same thing that where we have a tree view, but now for special folders. Okay, so when we add a special folder, we have the same type of tree view here. And you know, special folders are folders that are available in Windows. They are built automatically and maintained automatically by Windows. Most of them are system folders, and also many of them are content folders that are frequently used by users. And I group them here by categories. So you have the basic special folders, for example, this PC. I don't know in English how it is said, but it is where you see the list of drive on your PC. Corbeille in French, which is the trash or the recycle bin in English. Desktop is desktop. Download, so you see I have a mix of French and English here. Printers, so these are the ones that almost everybody use, and most of them are already in the default menu that I create when you install Quick Access Popup, my special folders. So these are the folders here. There is one here that in remove it's not part of the default. So normally it starts, if you installed it before version 9, it started with desktop and adding this. But with version 9, I'm adding in this submenu the add favorite special folders for the same reason we've seen with the snippets earlier. So if I want to add I'll just close this before and return to it. So if I want to add a special folder to my special folder menu, I can click this add favorite special folder and it will show me the list here. So which one will I use? Will I add? Let's see the power user. So these are more technical, not necessarily as specific as sysadmin, which what I think are folders that are not necessarily used by an individual user, but by someone who's managing various instances of Windows on a system, on a server, or on a PC. But those power users are, for example, mobile devices, the cache, the cookies, history, which is interesting, and let's add histories here. I never used it, but I discovered it. It's interesting. it's interesting. You have here, so I added it in my special folder. It's been added at the top because it is my default actually. So history will show you a list of what has been changed on your computer today, the day before, the week before, and so you see things there. I didn't use it, but I think that power users or sysadmin could see the value to this window, this folder. So, and finally, if we return to add favorite here, we have a group of system folders for content, for example, downloads, documents, music, these things. And the last one is hardware. So printers, network, system. So these are special folders, or they are application or tools that are available in Windows. So that's the same tree view available now for special folders. Let me return to my deck to see if there are other notes I want to talk to you about. So we've seen the categories of QAP features, the subcategories for add favorite of given types, the close computer commands, which is also a sub level of the tree view, and the categories for special folders. We've seen this new behavior where when you have an add favorite of a type or any add favorite QAP feature, they will add the favorite in by default in the folder in the submenu where the command was installed. Of course, you can change it after it if you need. I think we're done, Joe, with the first part.
Great. We did have one question, which it's QAP related, obviously, but it was about launching UWP programs like OneNote or Spotify.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
I'm working on this.
Okay.
So these are universal applications. There are different ways to call them. They are also called Metro apps in Windows 8, and Microsoft renamed it to Universal Application, or UWP being the name of the platform, the Universal Windows Platform. Yeah, it's a new type of application that has its new list of challenges I'm working on. So, for example, if I open the closed computer control center, no, that's this one. The close all windows.
Oh, right.
Music, for example, is one Windows of this type. And in this list here, currently, you have these listed, even if they are not really active. They are just there in the background, ready to be used, but not.
Is it a service?
A kind of service. It's not really a service, but it's the platform. The goal of this platform is to make application that can run on any device.
Yeah.
So they have a special framework to execute them. So not necessarily as service, but it can be compared to it if you wish. So, but I'm just discovering. I had a request. I don't know who has the question. If he's the one who sent me a note about that a few weeks ago.
AJ.
I started looking at it, and it's interesting. There's a lot of good tools that are available there. And my plan in a future version will be to have a submenu here that, in addition to my QAP Essentials and my special folders, would be my universal application, because you have a lot of application already on your PC that you don't know and that you maybe don't use, and there could be of interest. The calculator is not under this platform. There's an agenda. There's way to access news, weather, sports news. These things that can be added to this, can be included in this type of application.
And then we have another
working on this.
Cool. And then there was another question, just as because some people I think don't use it and it's hard to conceptualize. Can you give an example of the live folders, using live folders, and why you would use them, how they're helpful?
Yeah. I'll do it quickly, and maybe if we want to take more time at...
yeah, we can jump back to it later too.
In the second part, but yes, let's see it. Okay.
So kind of like when I'm working on a project.
Let's say I have a temporary folder here. I'll use the one on my drive. So I have here a temporary folder with different content, things that I can erase if I need. We all have these type of folders. But if I have a menu in a folder, I'll add first. I will add a folder temp stuff. I could browse what I just typed it, so it's now here. It will take me to this window here. So now I can browse it, but I have a few clicks more when I want to use a given folder or a given content in this folder. There's no much, so yeah, there are some folders here. Okay, so what it does, it will, if I edit this folder, and I'm just giving you a tip here, many people don't know that when your menu is open, if you want to edit any favorite, when you are on it, you can press Control and Shift while you click on the favorite, and it will automatically directly open the edit box for this favorite. So what I will do here is when we are in a folder favorite, we have the live folder options here. And when we enable this, it allows to put the content of the folder in your menu. So if I change nothing, I just use it as it was proposed by default. Now this item is not just an item that I can click. It's now a submenu that reflects the content of my of this folder. So all the submenus here are, all the subfolders, excuse me, are now available here, and I could open directly this this subfolder here if I need to go to it. And this is what is refreshed as you use the refresh command, or as it is refreshed automatically as I described before. There are a few options here that I can describe. By default, it will only include the folders, but it could also include the documents. By default, it will only include one level of your menu, of your folder, excuse me, but it could be more. Be careful not to put too much content in your menu, because it's not a limitation as much of Quick Access Popup, but a limitation of Windows, because Quick Access Popup is creating a Windows menu, and these menu cannot hold thousands of items in a large, very large tree view of folders or menu and submenu and submenu. So there's a limitation that I put in Quick Access Popup to 500 items, which you can get quite quickly when you increase the level of subfolders here. So I put just 2 for now, and I will also include the documents. And when you do it, you could say that you want only, for example, the Word document by saying docx, for example, it will only take these extensions. So now I will take everything. And when I reload, so it takes a little more time now to refresh the menu, of course, because of the content that is in my temp subfolder. I'll just open it here. So here on the right, you have every subfolders that is now also a submenu. So I have the content on 2 levels now, and I have the documents here at the end. Of course, it's very long, so it doesn't fit on my screen. And now I have a smaller screen for the webinar. I choose a smaller screen just for this to be easier to read. But now I see everything that is in this menu. It's quite long in the example I give. So it's how it works. Now the question was how to use it at work. So it depends on your needs. If you need to have things to be refreshed because they are moving, they are being updated, or you work on something and you want it to be updated live, so it gives you direct access to this content without having first to open the folder that contain these documents. It seems to be quite used from the feedback I see. And when you have a live folder, you always have at the top here an item that will open the live folder itself instead of one of its
cool.
content.
Nice. Yeah, I work in
question. If not, maybe we can come back on this in the second part.
Yeah, no, it answered it. But for me, I'm doing consulting work, and so I often work with projects, and that would be great to have a shortcut for the project and the files in it, which is constantly changing. So yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so move on to the second part, hot strings, which is really fun and efficient, a new way to launch your favorites. So the idea of hot string is, instead of using the menu to select something, or instead of having to press a hotkey, a short keyboard shortcut, you can have what you type being the trigger for a favorite. It's really helpful, or the best companion or best friend of triggers are snippets. Snippets and hot string are really made to work together, because snippets are pieces of text. We'll show an example of this later. And so you could have a snippet where you have a trigger, an abbreviation, if you wish, that is something like ADR for address. When you type this, it will automatically be expanded to your full address. So you will type a lot of keys. I have to type quick access pop-up maybe 500 times per day. So I have shortcuts now which are keyboard-based and in fact text-based shortcut. That's another way where we could describe hot string. So we will see this, and we will see also the options that are available for these hot strings. So example here. Let's give you a sec. So in my settings here, earlier I made, under the snippet submenu here that I'm moving at the top, I had this code snippet that I'm moving at the top again here. And what it was, here is your code C instruction. So if I have to type it now, what I can do, I'll open Notepad, which is called Bloc-Notes in French, but it's the same small notepad that you know. And here, hi Joe, and now I have to type my instructions. So what I can do here, I can press my middle mouse button to open the menu and select code email, and it will type the instructions for Joe, and I could say bye and add maybe things that would be specifics. So this work here in Notepad, it could be Word, it could be Excel, it could be your email software, it can be any place where you can type using your keyboard. What you type can be automatically replaced by the content of a snippet. What you type could also trigger any type of favorite. It's by design, it's like this in quick access pop-up. They are not necessarily much used for having an application being started by typing, for example, Word. If I type Word, it could start Word. If you want to do it, good, it's available there. But the best use of hot strings is to, I just, excuse me, I mixed myself. I was talking about snippets here and not yet about hot strings. So let's continue my point here. Sorry. So if I return here to my menu, my item is here, code email. Instead of choosing the menu, I could create a shortcut and add, for example, Control-Alt-C that would put this piece of text. But there is a limited number of shortcuts that you can configure on your keyboard. And that's where the hot string become interesting. So here you have hot strings, trigger, and options. There's an help link again here, and you may need it at the beginning. Everything is explained in the frequently asked question. So you click change. And what you type here is the trigger of the snippet of the hot string. So if you with the abbreviation. So in my example, I will type code, but do not use a word alone like this, because anytime you would type code anywhere, it would be translated or expanded to the full text. So you have to put something that is specific to make this string, this this string of characters being specific. So I'm added the hashtag at the end of my code. That's my own way to make it specific. You could use any character you would prefer. Choose one that is easy to access on your keyboard. So for me, the hashtag works well. So I'm saving it. I'll refresh. And now, if I say, hi, Joe, and now I say, I type code. Whoops, oh yeah, there's one thing I forgot. There's something I have to fix. When you update a snippet, it was working well, but sometimes I had issues. But now I find that the issue is more frequent than I expected. So when you edit a snippet, you need to restart. In most of the time, you need to restart Quick Access Popup. Sorry about that. I will work on this. But when you reload Quick Access Popup, now the trigger will work. So I typed code hashtag, and by default, to trigger, to launch the replacement, you have to press an ending key. That can be space, that can be enter. Many characters can act as ending keys. And as soon as you type this character, the snippet will be translated. What I like to do, personally, is to use an option which is do not wait for the ending key. Here, this option. When you do it, I will save it. I will save and close, and I will restart. And now if I type code, and see that as soon as I will type the hashtag, it will be translated. So that's a really efficient way to put pieces of that. This example is short, but already it's good. I have some example that I'm using every day. As I told you, if I press Q hashtag, it's not in this demo file now, but it would put Quick Access Popup, for example. I'll show you also some other example. Yeah, let's see this example.
Yeah, and you could have paragraphs, right?
Yeah, it could be many paragraphs. There's no real. Yeah, there is a limit. There's always a limit, but not for what is conceived as being a snippet. Okay, it's not a book. So Quick Access Popup, I have to write it every day, and also I have to write in some instances Quick Access Popup. So these are two variations of writing it with or without capitals. It depends on where I have to use it. So I created the snippets for that. So I'll show you now using the, excuse me, I'll go to the settings. I'll just remove the live folder because it just takes time, and recreate it if we need it later. So remove. And now in the snippets, I will add here a snippet called Quick Access Popup, and the content will be exactly, whoops, the content will be the same thing. And so it is with capital letters, and I'll create another one. I'll use the copy button while it's interesting to use this. So all I have to do now is to change it for lowercase. I need to change the name to make it unique in this folder. And here again, I'll make it lowercase. So I have these two items here. Why I want to show it to you is that I can create a hot string here that would be QA. And this one is the one with, let me check, I forgot to check. This one is the one with the upper and lower case. So I will create a hot string, which will be QA, and I make it case sensitive. The reason I make it case sensitive that I can create another hot string for this one here. That will be QA lowercase because it will trigger the lowercase. I make it case sensitive. If I don't make it case sensitive, the two ones will be confused one for the other. So if you make it case sensitive, it will take into account the case of the trigger here. Let's save it. Restart. So here now, if I type QA, whoops, what's wrong?
Did you put in the hashtag? I don't remember you putting in the hashtag.
Mm-hmm. No, I did not. That's the reason. It's here, options. Okay. So QA, lowercase, enter, and Q, capital A, oops, A, or hashtag, it will be uppercase. So just one of the options I wanted to demonstrate here. What I just tell you a few words about the other options. I discovered preparing this webinar that there was issue with some of them, but do not conform to typecase. No, I will just go to the one that can keep string abbreviation. So here, if you do it, when you type the trigger will not be erased. It's just that the snippet will be added after the trigger. And the one I'm using always is do not wait for ending key here. So in some other case, there are issues now. I won't go in detail in that. You will see in my next update that things will be reworked a bit for these options. Of course, it's a new feature in Quick Access Pop-Up, so it will need some tweaking in the next versions.
So if I could chime in just real quickly, because as Jean said, I have hundreds of these on my computer. And the best advice I can give you is, unless it's something you type often, have it at least 3 letters, and 3 letters with an ending, character, as Jean's demonstrating. It doesn't matter what it is, but it helps make it unique. And then use like a pattern. Like for email addresses, I have to use the first and last name of the person and then E for email. And so I have dozens of people's email addresses at my fingertips.
Yeah, good point. We're running out of time a little bit, but I'll take just 2 minutes to show you a more advanced ways of using snippets, and then we will proceed with the last part about the settings window. So we've seen up to here what we call text snippets. If we go in the advanced settings of a snippet favorite, by default, you don't have to go there. By default, it's a text snippet. But if we turn it to a macro snippet, it opens up a great list of possibilities for what you can automate with this. So macro mode, maybe some of you have already used it in Office applications, or it's something that is kind of scripting language where you can automate some commands. And because Quick Access Pop-Up is based on AutoHotkey, the language I'm using, so this language is also a scripting language, and it's also used to build, and it was at the beginning built to create keyboard macros. So let's turn this macro here, the code macro, as macro snippet. And what I will do here, I will include at the beginning without putting the first name here. But when the snippet will be typed, I will tell the macro to go up 4 lines. So you enclose with curly brace here. What it will do, it will go up 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want it to go 2 right, 2 characters right. And put a space here. So let's see how it will work. And now I have this new email I want to write, so I will use my string code. And so it's been very quick, but you've seen that it typed it and it get at the first line, at the end of before the comma, and now I'm ready to type Joe. So making an email now is just something like, excuse me, code. Oh, that's working.
Yes, yeah. Once you just do it, try it one more time. When when you start it and then stop it,
Yeah, okay, it's okay now. Not sure why.
and I use these a ton also. Anyone who doing any sort of like HTML or XML tags, it's a great way to have a little, intro tag, letters you write, but then it brings you right back in between your open and close tag. It's awesome.
If you do programming and you create a loop, for example, you have to put the beginning code, the ending code, and then come back at the beginning to put the condition. So it can be very useful for this too. So these are the just an aperçu, an overview of what can be done using the macro snippet. If you want to know more, again, there's the, let me show you. There's the help page here. Oh, my screen is very small here. So you have more information about creating and executing macro snippets here. And you have a list of all the commands that can be.
Hey, Jean, we had a question that's related to this area, so let me sneak it in here. Can we use variables? Like, let's say you had something saying today is, and then inserts the date automatically?
No, okay. You can do it if you use AutoAdKey itself.
Right.
If you're doing it through Quick Access Popup, you do not have access, for example, to looping or go-tos or the things that you do when you do programming. What you can only do is scripting the typing of content for file. You can probably do more, but you can also open a menu. You can also press the Alt key, the Shift key. You can move up, down, like I show you here. So all these commands are available, but not what is really becoming programming. Okay. Okay. Lastly, I will move to the last part of the presentation. Where is it? So improvements to the settings window. I'll do it. It's quick to demonstrate. The first thing is the extended search. So if I return to my settings window here, I'll cancel this. So I introduced a few versions ago the search in the favorite. So if I type here Windows, for example, as I type, it will filter the list of all the favorites in all submenus in one single list where you can find easily what is maybe hidden in some given subfolders that you forgot about. So that's a way of filtering that was already available. What is now available is the extended search. When you click this, it will not filter only based on the name as it does by default, but it will filter on any other property of your favorites. It can be based on the favorite type. For example, if I type menu, it will filter every favorite that has the menu type, or that could have menu in the name or menu in the location, in the shortcut text, the hot string trigger, snippet content, FTP logging. So almost everything that you enter in your favorites can be used here to filter, to find this. Of course, the list can be longer because it will cover a lot of possibilities, but it could help you find something very quickly compared to what you had before. So that's the first change. The second change is the sorting. So here you have a button to sort. Some of all users, maybe you've seen this in an earlier version, but I had to remove it because I had an issue with what do we do when there are separators in a list. We cannot sort a list with separators. All the separators will go at the bottom or at the top. And if there are separators, it means that there is a kind of logic that you implemented yourself. But what I worked on this release is to sort, but based on what is selected here, for example. So I have this list here. If I sort it, only this list will be sorted, and leaving the separator alone. And also, if you try to sort the whole list, automatically Quick Access Popup will stop sorting when it finds a separator. I have another example here that I can show you, and it will be an opportunity to show you a usage of the shared menu. I have here a short sort example. I will I think it's here. Yeah, it's this one here. So I add this submenu that contains a list of 4 items here. If I go in this, so just a parenthesis, the shared menu is in fact a kind of a submenu that is elsewhere that I just imported, if you wish, in my menu. So if I sort it here, but if I put a separator here, and let's make it so, and I'll click sort, it will sort the 2 first, but it will not touch the 2 at the end. It will only sort until the separator. You could also select and control click or shift click to select more items. It will sort all the selected items. And in this case, it will not touch the separator. Of course, it will take things that were below the separator to take them up, but it will sort based on what you selected. It will sort inside these this list. So this is the sort. Just as we are here, there's this little button here. Maybe you never used it, but it's very interesting. If you are a user of drag and drop, if you click this, the window will always stay on top. So when you open my screen is very small now, but so if I want to add this, let's take an example. Let's add this to my menu. I can drag and drop, and even if I move in different windows, my Quick Access Popup will always stay on top, and adding with drag and drop will be easier that way. So you can turn this on or off. It was already there, but because it's very low profile button, I just wanted to take it to your attention. What else? Sort, move, yeah. In the previous version, if you selected more than one item, the edit button was changed to become move here. But I realized that some user didn't know how to move when you wanted to move only one favorite. In fact, the way was to edit, go here in the menu options and change the submenu here, or change the position in the menu here. But to make it more easy to see, I added here the move button that will simply open a small dialog box where you can select the menu and the position in the menu where you want to move this item. If you select more than one item with shift click or control click, you will be able to move all these items, as you can do to remove them if you also need, or to copy them if you want to. So that's the move button modification. And lastly, and it is the end of my presentation, and we will switch to question or discussion after that. That's the shortcut and hot string button. So before version 9, you only want one button that was called hotkeys. It was here on the right. I moved it here because of the space I needed for the move button. And I also put to this button 2 labels. So if you click on the image itself, it will open this window with, as you had before, the list of shortcuts, or what I called hotkeys previously, but I switched to using the word shortcuts here. And so all the shortcuts currently in your menu. And notice that you have now a second tab here where you can see the same kind of list, but for your hot strings. So you see the 4-1 we built during this presentation. So you can switch as you wish here. And if you want to go directly to the hot strings menu, a list or window, you could click on hot string here instead of on the button or on shortcut. It will open the window directly in the hot string tab. And from here, you can double-click any item to edit the hot string for these favorites here. As we are here, if you want to add hot string to another favorite, or if you want to add a shortcut to another favorite, you can click here, see all favorites. So you will see not only those having a shortcut, but all the other one. And if I want to add a shortcut for this one, I can go and add Shift Control, whatever you want for this item.
Does that warn you, Jean, if it's already assigned somewhere?
For shortcut, it does.
Okay, great.
For stuttering, it does not, because it's so complex, because you can have various combination of lowercase, uppercase, and so it relies on you to make your hot string unique. But for hotkeys or shortcut, I check it. So if I try to make Shift, excuse me, here, Shift Control W. Is it W that is already used? Yes, Shift Windows W, my example here. So it tells me it is already used for this shortcut, for this favorite, and select something else. So that's it, Joe, for my presentation of the new features or changes in version 9. And now we can, of course, just before concluding and going to question, I would ask you, I like to share what I do freely. I receive donation and I appreciate that, because it helps me to pay for the expenses. I have to pay for license, certificate, icons, rights, and things like that. So thank you for that. But just for you to share the good news about Quick Access Pop-Up with your friend or your colleagues is something that I appreciate. Also, if you do it for companies or for teams, there's the shared menu feature that can be very powerful for departments or for teams, and I know it's used by companies. I can do private consulting for this if there are needs for help on installing or doing training or briefings about Quick Access Pop-Up. So I will be happy to do it. And also, you can use the opportunity of the next webinar that we will do in the month of June. We renamed it Boost Your Efficiency with Quick Access Pop-Up. Agility is something used by project management people, but not everybody will catch it. So we renamed Boost Your Efficiency with Quick Access Pop-Up. So it will be in June. Most of you are already subscribed to this webinar, but do not hesitate to invite your friends or your colleagues to this webinar to get in touch with this tool. So thank you very much. And Joe, we could go now with questions by chat or using your mic if you wish. Joe can now open the mics if you want to ask a question.
There was a question asked, which I brought up one way, but they were asking about, and it was particular to hot strings, but I think it applies to anything with QAP, is can you share it across computers? And so I said, I installed under a Dropbox folder, and that way it's synced everywhere.
Yeah,
but is there a different way to just share the any file possibly, or anything, or?
No, it's really I think the shared folder will answer this need. It's a folder that can, in fact, a shared menu is a settings file that contains only the content of a given menu, and that is saved on a drive that is accessible by many users. It can be a network drive inside the network, inside the company, or it could be a Dropbox drive or G drive or any shared drive that you can use. And as soon as you have access to this shared drive, your menu will, each time you open Quick Access Pop-Up or refresh your menu, it will be updated with the current content of this file in this shared file. It's used. I heard of usage of this to share links to interesting resources for people working on a project. It can be in a company links to HR stuff on the network. So it can, and these, I'll take just a second to show you that these shared menu. I removed the one. No, there I have this one here. So this one, oh, I'll just go here and edit the menu. In the shared menu options here, you can define that a shared menu is personal. So it's only for you. For example, because you're working on two PCs, one at home, one at office, at work, but you have some content that you want to use on both. For example, snippets can work on any PC. Web links can work on any PC. Of course, if you have links to folders, it's more local, so it's less good for having this in the shared menu. But if you are a company and you want to, on your network, to give access, for example, to your HR material, then you can make a centralized submenu, and it could then include links to folders on your network drives that are the same for everybody in the company. So every user could go to this menu. And because it is centralized, the behavior here is that only the administrator of the menu can change its content. When it is personal, you can change the content of your submenu on any of your PC. But when it is centralized, it is reserved to the user that you enter, and there's an explanation here. So you can enter here the name of the users based on their network username here. There's a message you can tell to others that I don't have the right to do it. And in between the two, there is collaborative menu, and these menus are made for use by different users. Any user can change the content, can add, edit, remove favorites in these collaborative shared menu. The difference between personal and collaborative is that in personal, I make the security or the protection of the content assume that you are not at the same time on the two PCs. You are on one or the other. But if you have a collaborative menu, many users can try to change the content at the same time. So I put in place some protection to avoid two users to modify the same menu at the same time, because if it would happen, only the changes of one of the two would be kept. That way, a menu is locked if someone is starting to modify the content, and when you save the content, it is released so other users can now change it. So it's more logic in this type of shared menu.
And John, what happens if at that time the network drive is not available, or the shared drive, rather?
The shared menu will appear in your menu being grayed out, and you will have a message saying this menu is not available now.
Yeah.
And but it will stay there for the next time the folder will be available.
I haven't seen any more questions. Wonderful job, Rick said. Absolutely. Guys, like I said, I'm pretty recent to using it, but when Jean, there's also like a 45-minute video on YouTube where Jean walked me through like every nit and cranny of the tool, and it's just amazing what he's built into this. Don't get too mad at me. I keep telling him he needs to charge for it, but it's an amazing tool. Oh, and actually, so I used to work in a corporate office, and so I would share my snippets, especially like in SQL or links to websites. I would make them available to my colleagues, and it was just really easy. I didn't use QAP because I didn't have it at the time. I wish I did. It would have saved me a ton of time. But it's a great, easy way to, if you write some code, to make it available to other people.
There's this, the webinar you were talking about is available here. So this one is a short video giving a very light overview of the application. But this one here is really going deeper in what it does. And it's a 40-minute interview, so interaction with Joe that has been recorded. And yes, it can give it's like a short course on how to use Quick Access Popup. The webinar we will do in June will be a little bit shorter, or in fact, it will be more to have people understand the benefits of Quick Access Popup with demonstration, with the demo also. But this one here is more how to use it.
Awesome. Are we good? How did you make this?
I made this video here. I went on the 5 cents, how is it called, a site
Fiverr?
where you can give contracts to freelance all over the world.
Fiverr.
Huh?
Fiverr.
Fiverr, yes.
Yeah.
And so it cost me a few tens of dollars for that, and yeah, it's and I just sent some screen capture and material that I wanted to be used.
That's
So
awesome.
I don't have much control on this because, of course, when it's done and because it's cheap, you cannot return have it being improved and improved many times. You have a few revisions, but it does a basic job of giving a quick overview of what the tool is.
They forgot your beard.
Hmm?
They forgot your beard in the picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, unless there's any other questions, I think we're good.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon or good evening or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. And it was really a pleasure to have this opportunity to share this with you. And hopefully, if you can share this with your friends and colleagues, it will be appreciated.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Herbert.